All right, now, as the session closes out, lawmakers have once again failed to do anything about the imminent harm standard in the Keeping Families Together Act. And a little background, I know we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but for folks that are just tuning in and maybe aren't familiar, in 2021, the state legislature passed the Keeping Families Together Act. And the idea was at the time, and even some Republicans agreed, we're making it too easy to, yank kids out of homes if there's, an allegation of, abuse, neglect, that sort of a thing. And at the time it was okay, so maybe that parent does have a substance abuse problem or some anger problems, but we can get them help, but still leave the kids in the home. So the assertion being it's too disruptive and too difficult for that child to be removed from their parents, even if the parents have some issues they need to work on. So that was kind of the motivation for the bill. Then came the fentanyl crisis. And we have many, many drug addicted parents and far too many children that are dying in homes with drug addicted parents. But we have a very high bar for removal for those kids. So Representative Travis Couture, Republican from Allen, has kind of made this his mission. This is his, I think, third or fourth session in a row where this has been his thing. He spends all the interim, trying to get Democrats to work with him, say, okay, this is the bill we're going to run. This is how we're going to fix it. And he really did try again this year. There were even Democrats that had bills, but ultimately nothing ended up getting passed. And Representative Couture's sense for that is that he knows that once that reaches the floor, there's going to be an incredible amount of debate that exposes the harms that are being done. And we did see some of that in some House floor amendments where some of those child harm reports, child fatality reviews were read on the floor, and they were heartbreaking to listen to. But I did speak with Representative Couture this morning about closing out another session without addressing this tragedy. And he shared that his next effort on this is potentially to get the Trump administration involved.
This one is a life and death situation. And on top of that, just a host of other things I don't feel like are protecting kids in this state. It's not protecting children in this state. And a state who can't protect its children, a state that doesn't care about kids, is a state that has lost the moral authority to do anything else, in my opinion. This is a complete travesty, and it's a stain on our institution. And parents have a 14th Amendment right for parental rights, but you know who also has a 14th Amendment right is kids against when they're being abused and neglected and locked into homes. This is a civil rights problem at this point. And last night, I had the opportunity, myself and Representative Penner had the opportunity, and Representative Walsh, I might add, had the opportunity to talk to Pete Serrano, who is one of the U.S. attorneys over in the eastern side of the state, about how do we talk to the Department of Justice at the federal level about looking into the Keeping Families Together Act and potential civil rights abuses that are happening. You can't deny a child their 14th Amendment rights against abuse and neglect in the way in which this state is doing. And so we're not done fighting. I'll never be done fighting this until we fix it. But it's just unfortunate because after today, the next opportunity we'll have to fix it is next January. And that makes me sick. It makes me so sick, I want to crawl out of my own skin.
So, not to close out this episode on a really, kind of gloomy note, but the Office of Family and Children's Ombuds reported that for 2025, there were 92 children that either died or nearly died um, in the state of Washington. These are children that have had contact with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. Their numbers were higher than that were reported by the actual agency. Some of that has to do with the timeliness of reporting. Some of it has to do with how much engagement the agency had with that family or not. So, but according to the Independent Office of the Ombuds, 92 children in 2025. And we're keeping a close eye on things for 2026. And we'll see. Maybe the Trump administration is going to get involved here. And that will be the next way to go, because if the legislature isn't going to fix this, somebody needs to step in. So thank you for watching today's episode of Washington in Focus Daily. I'm headed back over to the Capitol as we watch the final hours of debate on budgets and any other bills they slide through at the last minute. And then hopefully it's gavel out and sine die. And there's so much to follow up from this session. So we're still going to be bringing you updates, I promise, and talking with lawmakers on a daily basis about their takeaways from the session and what they hope, you know, uh, as they move toward the next one. And remember, it's an election year for a lot of these members. So they're anxious to get the heck out of here because they can't do any fundraising, any campaigning, any electioneering while session's going. So they want to get out of here as bad as anybody else does. So thank you for watching. Have a great day.